$20 billion in gold, silver, and uncut emeralds sits 600 meters beneath the Caribbean Sea, approximately 15 kilometers off the coast of Cartagena, Colombia, and it has not moved since June 8, 1708. The San José, a 64-gun Spanish galleon, carrying an estimated 11 million 8 escudo gold coins, 200 tons of silver, and chests of raw emeralds from colonial South America, was blown apart by a single British cannonball that struck her powder magazine during a naval engagement that lasted 90 minutes. Nearly 600 Spanish sailors died in the explosion. Colombia located the wreck in November 2015 using a Remus 6000 autonomous underwater vehicle operated in partnership with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Confirmed its identity through bronze cannons engraved with distinctive dolphin motifs and stamped with the word Sevilla, and then immediately classified the wreck's coordinates as a state secret. 4 separate parties, the Colombian government, the Kingdom of Spain, a United States salvage company called Sea Search Armada, and indigenous Bolivian nations, including the Caracara, are now locked in simultaneous legal claims over the cargo, with Sea Search Armada alone seeking $10 billion in compensation through the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague. The San José was built in 1697 at a shipyard in Mapil-Usurbil in the Basque Country of Spain, designed by Francisco Antonio Garate and constructed by Pedro de Arostegui. She displaced 1,051 tons burden, measured approximately 46 meters in length, and carried 64 guns arranged across 3 decks, 26 18-pounders on the lower gun deck, 26 10-pounders on the middle gun deck, and 12 6-pounders on the quarterdeck and forecastle. Her twin sister ship, the San Joaquin, was built simultaneously at the same yard. Both vessels served as escorts for the Spanish treasure fleet during the War of the Spanish Succession, tasked with transporting the accumulated mineral wealth of Spain's American colonies back to Europe to finance the Bourbon War effort. The San José's final cargo was loaded at Portobello, Panama gold and silver extracted from the Cerro Rico mines at Potosi in present-day Bolivia, along with emeralds from the mines of New Granada. The Potosi mines had by 1708 already produced an estimated 60,000 tons of silver over 2 centuries of operation, and historians associate approximately 8 million indigenous and African slave deaths with the forced labor system that made that extraction possible. Every coin and ingot aboard the San José passed through hands that were compelled to work under the Spanish Mita system. On May 28, 1708, the fleet commander José Fernández de Santillán departed Portobello with 3 galleons the San José as flagship, carrying between 7 and 11 million pesos in registered gold, the San Joaquin with 5 million pesos, and the 44-gun Santa Cruz, along with 14 merchant vessels and 1 lightly armed hulk. Hurricane season was approaching, and Santillán could not wait for better conditions. A British squadron of 4 warships under Commodore Charles Wager had been watching from the Rosario Islands, just 30 miles from Cartagena. Wager's flagship was the 70-gun HMS Expedition, supported by the 60-gun Kingston under Captain Timothy Bridges, the 50-gun Portland under Captain Edward Windsor, and the 28-gun fireship Vulture under Commander Caesar Brooks. The Spanish fleet reached Isla Peru on the evening of June 7th and anchored. The following afternoon, in light wind, Wager's squadron closed the distance. At approximately 5 in the afternoon, the Kingston engaged the San Joaquin. 2 hours later, after fierce broadsides at a distance of just 60 meters, the San José detonated. The explosion was instantaneous. Of approximately 600 crew and passengers, 11 survived. Santillán went down with his ship. Wager captured the Santa Cruz later that night, finding only 13 chests of silver pieces of 8 and 14 pigs of silver aboard private property, not crown treasure. The San Joaquin escaped into Cartagena harbor. Captains Bridges and Windsor were later court-martialed for allowing her to get away. The San José lay undisturbed for 273 years. In 1981, a group of American investors operating under the name Glocka Mora Company, later rebranded Sea Search Armada, claimed to have located the wreck using the technology available at the time. Colombia refused to sign a proposed 65/35 revenue split in Sea Search Armada's favor. The Colombian parliament then passed legislation reducing any finder's fee to 5% of recovered value, taxed at 45%. Sea Search Armada sued Colombia in Colombian courts in 1989. The case moved through the legal system for 18 years before the Supreme Court of Colombia ruled in July 2007 that recovered treasure should be split equally between the government and the exploration company. Sea Search Armada then pursued claims in United States federal courts, but the case was dismissed in 2011 and again in 2015 on jurisdictional grounds. Then, on November 27, 2015, everything shifted. The Colombian Navy announced it had located the San José at a different set of coordinates from those Sea Search Armada had provided in 1982. President Juan Manuel Santos made the announcement public on December 5th. Colombia's position was straightforward. If Sea Search Armada's original coordinates did not match the actual wreck site, the company had no valid claim. Sea Search Armada alleged the maneuver was a deliberate ruse, that their 1980s-era positioning technology simply lacked the precision of modern GPS, and that the wreck Colombia found was the same one they had identified 3 decades earlier. On December 18, 2022, Sea Search Armada filed a formal notice of arbitration at the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague under UNCITRAL rules, seeking approximately $10 billion. Spain's claim operates on an entirely separate legal axis. The San José was a commissioned warship of the Spanish Navy, crewed by sailors serving under orders of the Spanish Crown, carrying cargo belonging to the Spanish state. Under widely recognized principles of international law, sunken state vessels retain sovereign immunity regardless of where they rest. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea codifies this principle. The UNESCO Convention on the Protection of the Underwater Cultural Heritage, adopted in 2001, specifically provides that flag states of sunken warships must be consulted before any activities are directed at those vessels. Colombia has ratified neither convention. Spain has repeatedly requested bilateral consultation and proposed joint management of the site. In February 2024, the Spanish ambassador to Colombia publicly reiterated Spain's willingness to negotiate. Colombia has not accepted the offer. Meanwhile, the Caracara Nation of Bolivia, along with the Karanga, Chicha, and Quilica peoples, filed a letter with UNESCO in March 2024, arguing that the gold and silver aboard the San José was extracted through the forced labor of their ancestors at Potosi and therefore constitutes shared cultural patrimony. Their position is that no party, not Colombia, not Spain, not a private American company, has the right to recover or profit from that cargo without the consent of the communities whose exploitation produced it. Colombia has moved forward regardless. In March 2024, the government announced plans for a scientific recovery operation, allocating $7.3 million for the first exploration phase. In May 2024, the Colombian Institute of Anthropology and History, working with the Colombian Navy, DEMAR, the General Maritime Directorate, and the Ministry of Culture, deployed robotic vehicles to survey the site in what was designated the first phase of a project called Towards the Heart of the San José Galleon. The robots mapped the debris field, confirmed that the wreck had not been disturbed by unauthorized salvage, and documented the distribution of artifacts across the seabed using photogrammetric imaging. In June 2025, a study published in the journal Antiquity analyzed coins imaged in situ by ROV cameras and identified them as macuquinas, hammered cobs minted at the Lima Mint in 1707, consistent with a vessel navigating the Tierra Firma route in the early 18th century. This provided the first peer-reviewed archaeological confirmation of the wreck's identity, independent of the bronze cannon identification made in 2015. Between November 16th and 18th, 2025, the Colombian Navy executed the first physical recovery of artifacts from the San José since it sank 317 years earlier. Underwater robots retrieved a bronze cannon inscribed with the word Sevilla, 2 intact porcelain cups from the Qing dynasty era, 3 gold and copper Makukina coins, 2 porcelain fragments, 1 fragment of rope associated with the cannon, and sediment containing metal and wood particles. Colombian President Gustavo Petro was present for the inspection of the recovered items in Cartagena. The artifacts are now being preserved and studied at 2 facilities, the Underwater Cultural Heritage Laboratory at Dimars Caribbean, Oceanographic and Hydrographic Research Center in Cartagena, and the National Museum of Colombia in Bogota. Culture Minister Yanay Caramani Fonrodona described the recovery as demonstrating Colombia's technical capability to protect its underwater cultural heritage independently. Colombia insists this is a research operation, not a commercial salvage. No gold bars or silver ingots have been brought to the surface. The 11 million coins, the 200 tons of precious metal, the chests of uncut emeralds, all of it remains 600 meters below. The arithmetic of recovery makes the distinction between research and salvage less stable than Colombia's messaging suggests. The estimated value of the cargo, $17 billion at 2023 appraisals, with some estimates reaching $20 billion, makes the San José the single most valuable shipwreck ever identified. A single 8 escudo gold coin from this period, weighing approximately 27 grams at 92% gold purity, carries a melt value of roughly $1,500, but comparable Makukinas from the early 18th century have sold at auction for between $40,000 and $72,000 each because of their numismatic rarity. If 11 million such coins actually sit in the debris field, the numismatic value alone would exceed the GDP of most Caribbean nations. The Colombian government designated the wreck site a protected archaeological area in 2024 under the Petro administration, legally prohibiting commercial exploitation. Under the previous Ivan Duque administration in 2019, the San José had already been declared a cultural asset of the nation, which prevented any salvage costs from being paid for with recovered cargo. Colombia has effectively constructed a legal architecture that allows it to recover the treasure while insisting that recovery is not the point. The site sits in tropical waters at a depth no human diver can reach without a submersible. The pressure at 600 meters exceeds 60 atmospheres. Corrosion, biological incrustation, and sediment accumulation over 3 centuries mean that every artifact requires immediate stabilization upon reaching the surface. The Colombian Navy has not disclosed what class of remotely operated vehicles it is using, nor has it published a timeline for full cargo recovery. The scale of what remains below 200 tons of metal, millions of individual coins, intact porcelain from trans-Pacific Chinese trade, emeralds whose cut and setting would constitute primary evidence of early 18th century lapidary practices would require industrial-scale operations sustained over years. No comparable recovery has been attempted in warm tropical waters at this depth. The technical challenge alone would be formidable even without 4 competing legal claims, a classified location, and the moral weight of a cargo produced by forced labor from communities that still exist and still remember what was taken from them. What lies at the bottom of the Caribbean off Cartagena is not simply valuable. It is a single physical object onto which 4 entirely incompatible definitions of ownership have been projected simultaneously, and the only thing preventing the contradiction from collapsing into open conflict is 600 meters of seawater and the fact that nobody has yet brought up anything worth fighting over in court.